A research team using new advanced SAR technology say they've discovered massive structures underneath the pyramids of Giza. We'll look at what the mainstream narrative is saying about this and a few other false claims as well. We'll also see that there's secret tunnels and chambers underneath the Sphinx, and that the impossibilities of all the complex structures of ancient Egypt were built by the fallen angels and their Nephilim offspring. We'll start off with the narrative that the mainstream news sources are putting forth.
It started with a research team from Italy, Professor Corrado Malanga and his team from the University of Pisa. They're convinced they found something big. Using radar pulses, they claim to have detected a vast underground complex, spiral staircases, mysterious chambers, and even a network of tunnels leading deeper into the earth. His team believes there are 8 distinct vertical cylinder-shaped artifacts that span more than 2,100 feet beneath the pyramids. And get this, they believe it might even contain the legendary Hall of Records, an ancient library rumored to hold the lost knowledge of Egyptian civilization.
With claims there are 8 man-made, vertically aligned cylinder-like structures extending through the limestone bedrock for a whopping 648 meters, each with its own winding stairway and culminating in 2 large cubic structures, with sides measuring around 80 meters. To put that into perspective, the Empire State Building is 443 meters in height, so the so-called man-made cylinders are much larger, and the cubic structures are nearly twice as tall as the Statue of Liberty.
Right off the bat, Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's former Minister of Antiquities, came out and said that this was not real. It appears as though Zahi rarely goes against the mainstream narrative of archaeology, which this new information definitely does. The Sphinx is also rumored to have secret tunnels and chambers as well. Zahi admitted to a few of these tunnels, but rejected the theory of larger chambers, but the evidence points to there being more going on underneath the Sphinx as well.
Here we are going to the Sphinx enclosure, guys. So cool. Oh, we're not going in there today, right? No? Okay, maybe we are going in there today. This thing is so big. Like, look at how big this is.
What do you see, Adrian?
I see that. Need to go over there.
No. Okay, so that's a dead end.
But clearly, no, this is not CGI, and I find it really interesting that the Egyptian authorities have done so much to prevent anyone from knowing about this in the first place. Now, there has been other speculation, and this brings me to my second example, that there is some sort of shaft door at the top on the Sphinx's back towards the rear. And in fact, Zahi Hawass actually took people up there with a camera in 2009. But he opens up the door, he points down, and clearly you can see that at the bottom, I mean, it goes someplace, you can tell from the shadows. Which direction does it go? I have no idea. He himself says that it leads nowhere and you go down there and there's nothing to be seen. He says that people probably dug it out at some point looking for treasures. And don't forget, Zahi Hawass had denied for decades that there was ever tunnels underneath the Sphinx, or in the Sphinx itself. And he had actually changed his story multiple times. But it raises questions. Could this lead to the cavities within the Sphinx, or the detected cavity below it? I mean, guys, ground-penetrating radar has shown that there's something there.
There's a lot more stuff going on and hidden underground than a lot of people realize. Something in relation back to Egypt is that a lot of the tunnels and the underground chambers are actually flooded with water, something you don't hear about very often.
He's at waist height right now. Waist height. Yeah. Is it cold?
Cold. No.
Are you on the sarcophagus? You see it? Wow, that's so cool, man. You're my hero.
the Sphinx. The Sphinx is hollow. And there are many tunnels under the Giza Plateau, most of which are not accessible, especially to the general public.
There is underground water, of course, at Giza, but this water is crystal clear. So where exactly did it come from, and was it intended?
For sure, there's stuff underneath the Giza Plateau that is not known or publicly stated, but there are fake claims being spread around this whole discovery. This video here was being shared as if the spiral columns were found and being investigated, but this is an AI generated video. Billy Carson also came out and publicly said multiple times that in his book on Thoth the Atlantean and the Emerald Tablets, he predicted that this is what's underneath the pyramids.
And now we can see everything going on beneath there, and what's down there is exactly what was predicted in my book 5.5 years ago, the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, which I have on page 34, a depiction or a rendering of this deep underground city, which is almost identical to what they discovered just recently.
Here's the actual picture from Billy Carson's book. When you look a little closer, you can see that this type of structure is nothing like what came out in the recent news. And if there's not walls underneath the structure, there has to be columns. So just because there's columns here doesn't mean that this is in any relation to some sort of prediction or prophecy, especially when we look around Egypt and see that there's a lot of columns used in their architecture already. And just to point out, this isn't a prediction made by Billy Carson and his book. You can even see here in his book that this is taken from a website called ancientcode.com. This was not the only claim that I saw about Thoth the Atlantean predicting this was underneath the pyramids. So here is a quick history on the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, so that theory can just be thrown in the trash where it belongs. Thoth is a real ancient Egyptian deity associated with the moon, writing, and wisdom. And the real Emerald Tablet is about a paragraph long, attributed mostly to Hermes Trismegistus, and the oldest account dating to the 8th or early 9th century. But the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean are not real. They were created by Maurice Doreal in the early 1900s. He claimed to have gone to Giza in 1925 and found the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, which he said were 38,000 years old, and with no real ability in understanding these ancient languages, somehow managed to translate the entire thing. Maurice Doreal was an occultist, clearly trying to copy the life of Aleister Crowley. He was a science fiction writer, and him and his occult group hid in the mountains of Colorado in expectation of a nuclear blast that never happened. There's not a single thing in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean that is real or credible. To understand the ancient mysteries, including ancient Egypt, we don't need Maurice Doreal's Emerald Tablets of Thoth or the belief that aliens exist. We need to look at what the actual truth is, which is that fallen angels came to the earth and influenced mankind. Genesis 6:4, the Book of Enoch, the Book of Giants, the Book of Jubilees, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and so on, all reference fallen angels coming to Earth and creating giant offspring with the humans of Earth. These are how the impossible ancient structures around the world were built. The great deception among so many people right now is that aliens are the ones who built these. There's a reason why every Friday night for the last 26 years, Ancient Aliens is on TV telling people that aliens created us, God's not real, everything we see is attributed to evolution and the Big Bang, and aliens will once again make themselves known to us like they did in the past.
And the stones are immense, and some of them were cut from a quarry that's hundreds of miles away.
Well, some of them, the granite in the Great Pyramid comes from more than 500 miles to the south. all made with gigantic granite blocks. So those blocks on the roof of the king's chamber weigh 70 tons each. Now, Egyptologists will tell you that, they could move heavy blocks because they put them on wet sand and they push them along on wet sand. But when you're 350 feet above the ground, as you are in the king's chamber, that won't do at all. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it. It's how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking, again, at a lost technology.
What built the ancient structures around the world wasn't ETs or secret technology. It was the supernatural power and understanding of the fallen angels. According to Enoch 6 verse 6, it was during the days of Jared when the fallen angels came from heaven to earth. Genesis 5:18 says that Jared was 162 years old when he begat his son Enoch. Calculating the number of years from Adam, the first man, to Noah when the flood happened, gives us approximately 1,034 to 1,196 years that the fallen angels were on the earth influencing mankind. The fallen angels were teaching humans how to sin and were corrupting humankind with their mixing of the genetics. This is one of the main reasons why God flooded the earth. One of the claims in relation to what's in these structures that are underneath the pyramids is that it's the claimed Hall of Records. The Hall of Records is purported to be an ancient library underneath the Sphinx or maybe underneath the Giza pyramids, but this is a concept that originated with Edgar Cayce, who is someone who claimed to be clairvoyant and is a forerunner to the New Age spiritual movement. If the Hall of Records was real, which there's no evidence that it is, it would hold exactly the type of information as to why God flooded the earth in the first place. The fallen angels' interaction with humankind led to great sin and great corruption. It wasn't a time of prosperity or anything good. That's why in the end times, it's prophesied to be like the days of Noah and the days of Lot, because in those times, great evil was being spread and taught all throughout the earth. The fallen angels and their Nephilim offspring may once again make another appearance. It's prophesied that men's hearts will fail them for fear of those things which are coming upon the earth. We can know that what the Bible prophesies to happen will come to pass. Even looking at the crumbling pyramids is a fulfilled prophecy from the book of Ezekiel. Egypt will be the lowliest of kingdoms and will never again exalt itself above the nations. For I will diminish Egypt so that it will never again rule over the nations. This has come to pass. Every prophecy up to this point has been fulfilled, and everyone into the future will as well. Accept Jesus as your Lord and find the fulfillment, comfort, wisdom, and understanding that every generation of the past has sought, but that can only be found through Jesus Christ.